Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning.
Good morning. How are things going?
Oh, good, great, wonderful, fabulous.
That's right. That's right.
Just got
I'm
back.
agree.
Go ahead.
You just got back?
But yeah, we got back last night. We went to California for 4 days.
Nice. That
So
was good.
it was good. Had a great time. First time ever, we went to San Francisco. So that was cool. So yeah,
Very
hung
awesome.
out with some friends, stayed at their house, and they, were our tour guides and got some nice fresh ocean air. And yeah, we drove back last night. It was an 8-hour drive. We figured the amount of time and money it would take to fly and being cramped in a airplane and all that, it would be the same for us to drive, actually less to drive. So yeah, we had a great time. It's just interesting to stay with people to see their dynamics of their family and how they interact and the conversations. And because they have a teenage and a 13-year-old and 11, I think. So it's just fun to see interactions, how different families get along, and yeah, it was just good.
That's great, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a nice drive.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. Yep.
Nice. And you set intentions before you went, like for it to be a good, right? I
Yep.
mean, is that what you do? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Set the intentions for that. Call in Archangel Michael to surround us with the blue light while we travel, keeping us safe, that we arrive safe. It's just of ease and grace through the entire trip. That we have a good time, everybody gets along, just holding that vision that I'm gonna have a good time. And I did. So had some great food too.
Yeah. So like talking about intentions, which I think we might have talked about a little bit last week. I don't know. We probably talk about a little bit every week, but even going for drives, because I drive, I'm out of town a little bit by 20 minutes. So I have to hit the highway. So a lot of times there is a lot of people that are that are driving through, and yeah, a lot of interesting stuff that you get to see. And it's like I kept going and like, okay, my path's going to be clear. That was my intention. My path's going to be clear. My path's going to be clear. And then someone would get in my way, and it's like, motherfucker. I mean, and not get in your way. It's like there was nobody behind me. So then I went from pretty much a peaceful place, right, to I'm just flipped a switch. And by
Right.
the time I get to where I'm going to, I'm having to calm myself down and talk myself out of where I was at. So now my intention is that I'm going to feel peaceful, that
Yeah.
I'm going to feel peaceful on that journey. So now it's different. So when someone comes out in front of me, it's like I don't feel like I have to be right up behind them, like, hey, you see me? You're going too slow. You need to get out of my way. So
Yeah,
it's
we
a little bit
experienced that a
different.
few times.
Yeah, but it's asking, right? It's what are we asking for? We think that we're ask the questions over and over and over again because we think that we're asking for exactly what we want, but that's not what I wanted. The initial thing wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't just for a clear path, because that's all outside of me, but the peacefulness is inside of me. And then it's when someone pulls in front of me, I'm like, do I want that to take away my peace that I'm feeling right now? So then, because I have a choice, right? Which we don't notice these things until we slow down enough to recognize all these things that are these opportunities that we have all the time.
Yep.
Not to say that I don't get in my modes that my switch is flipped,
I flip
and
it.
and I'm pretty much done. Like I'm pretty much done. Like I get to my places just like everybody else does. I'm no different as far as that goes, but I don't visit there that long anymore.
Yeah. And just an FYI for everybody, there are a fuck ton of truckers out there on the road.
Yes, there are.
A
Yes, there are.
lot.
doesn't matter if I'm coming home or going to work, there is more than there has been even a year ago. I mean, there's so much. There really is.
Yes, so we left, and I'm just hitting on this because of everything that's going on.
Yes.
That we left our home about 1:30 a.m. Thursday morning and drove
Okay.
straight through 8 hours. I mean, we did have to stop for fuel. My husband drove 6 hours, the first 6 hours. And when, I was laying there with my eyes closed, nothing to do, not much I can do in the dark. So I just laid there with my eyes closed, and I wasn't really tired because of the excitement of going. But when when he saw me have my eyes open, he's like, in this whole time, and it was a good 3 hours, he said, in this whole time, it's been nothing but truckers and a handful of cars. And then when we came back, we did come back during the day, and there were so many truckers in the right lane that all the cars just stayed in the left lane. And so, they wouldn't pull in between each, when they get past a trucker, kind of pull off so others could pass. It was just the left lane was the travel lane for the cars. And so that's how many, there was just truckers the whole way. It was amazing. I'm like, and thanking them, just internally thanking them for what they're doing, and the best they can do, really, right? That's what we can do, is the best we can do with when other people put limitations on us, the rules, the regulations, the BS from the media. I mean, it's just, they're doing what they can do. And they're technically only supposed to drive so many hours in a day and then rest. I'll leave that there because I know a lot of them don't. They just keep going, right? Because time is money. So yeah, setting that intentions of that it was a safe trip was super important for sure. And things like that we can ask for, even if I'm just going from home to the grocery store. It's like a mile away. I ask that I arrive safely, and there's ease and grace in my shopping. I can get in and out and get home, and all is well. So we can set intentions for anything all day long. You set intentions for when you're going to work. You set intentions for a short line at lunch so you can get in and out. It just set an intention to have an amazing day.
Yeah. And then starting it the night before. I even had a client recently and a lot of the stuff I think is more new to this person, but it comes into my experience because I know it's a good practice. But she said that, she was thinking about her next day, and she knew that she was going to have a great run. And so she's thinking about that. And when we do that and we have that feeling of, it just, everything feels good. And then she's setting her intention, not even realizing she's setting her intention for the following day, how her day is going to flow.
Yeah.
There was a lot of different things that she was planning on doing that day. And then she had got to come see me that day. And then she had some other stuff to go to that evening that was uplifting that she had planned on going to before, and then had talked herself out of it, but made a decision that night before, which is a lot of what our thing is, because a lot of times there might be something great. Like I know there was a sound, what was it? A sound
healing.
Was it sound healing? She called it something like that, or maybe it was a sound bath or something like that. Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, sound bath.
And it's like I had my grandson. I take him on Fridays. He looks forward to it all week long. I don't miss out on that. So
yeah,
I wasn't able to go to it, but it's like those things are so like, if you get a desire to go to it, because this is what happens, right? A lot of people, this is what used to happen to me. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Amie asked me to go to the sound bath. Okay, yeah, that sounds really good. And then by maybe Friday morning, like I can't make it. Because by that time I've talked myself out of something of going, because it's like it's new. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't want to be judged. There's just a million processes that we can go through, whatever your stuff is, your traumas.
When you're an introvert, you're just like, you easily talk yourself out of stuff.
Yeah, all the time. I did it. I've done it.
Yeah, me too.
Had done it a lot. But it's like staying in that place and be like, no, I know I'm going to go there and I'm going to have a good time. And that's we're setting intentions when we do those things. And that's how it is with everything. Just set, the night before, like I was saying, you set it the night before, like how your day is going to be the next day, or even for your dreams at night. I have been having the most amazing experiences in dreams.
Nice.
I mean, probably a year ago, or maybe it's been even longer than that. I think it's been at least a year no, it's been over a year that I have control of my dreams, but now I have more control of my dreams. It's just the craziest. There's just so much stuff going on. I was just recently, my dream I woke up from, it was the day before yesterday, or it was yesterday morning. I woke up and the dream was like I was looking out of this 2-story window of this house at this running path or this path, and I'm in the woods and I see this old rusty wheelbarrow and stuff like that. And I'm like, this place felt like home. Like this place felt so familiar to me, and I've never been to this place. And it's like I couldn't get over it. I kept telling Freeman, like, this place, I can't even familiar. I must have said it like a million times because it just felt, I've never felt that way before. I've never felt that kind of a connection to a place. I don't even know where it's at. So now my intention is to like be able to see that address or to see where it at, because it exists. And I felt it. And it's like I knew that wheelbarrow was there. It was just always sitting off the side of the path. It's this huge wheelbarrow. It's not really, I mean, it looks like it, but it's a lot bigger than that. And it had like 4 wheels on it, but it's like, and it's rusty. It's just been sitting out there. And I'm like, I'm going to go for a run and I'm going to go for a walk and take these dogs, take our dogs for a walk too. So it's like, I knew I had all the dogs that I had now. And it was just like, pay attention to how dreams feel, because sometimes you see things and you don't understand, but how did you feel in that dream? And
Right.
it's like, it was just so familiar. Like it was home. I knew that was home.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt so good in any place ever. And that place, I felt good.
Nice. Just turn my phone off so it didn't ring.
Um, and then it's like right after that, I went back to sleep, and it was like, as soon as I wake up, I use it as an opportunity. So anytime during the nighttime, if I wake up, that's my opportunity to either is some stuff coming into my head that I've got to work through, or that I can work through. I don't have to, that I can work through. And then I'll just go right into meditation. I'll be like, I'll ask questions like, why is this showing up for me? Or why am I feeling this way? Why does this, whatever is going on? And then I'll go into a meditation. And it's like I was in this meditation, and all of a sudden I'm like suspended, and I'm looking down at a puddle of water. And then I'm telling Freeman, like he's in this space, and I'm like telling him each detail, like I'm as if I'm being guided through a past life regression or something like that. And I reach out my hand and I touch this grass that's on the side, and I could feel it penetrate. I mean, I felt everything. It was so real. And then it's like I want to zoom out, because all I'm seeing right where I'm at is like flat ground. It's just dirt. And I zoom out, and it starts to go too fast. And I'm like, okay, let's zoom out. Just thinking about it. I didn't do anything or say anything, but I was thinking, let's zoom out. And it started going up too fast. It tickled my belly. And I felt that in the dream. So it's like, and I don't even think it's a dream, because it was just too real. Then I could see mountains everywhere. And it's like, I'm telling him, like, I walk over to a plant and I see a little tag on the plant, and it says Emma's on it, and it's written in cursive. So I looked up some stuff, and there was a girl named Emma, but she doesn't call it Emma's, but she does. She is over in Africa, Tanzania, and she does something that's very big with her plants, because money goes towards other things. So it's like, that was kind of cool. So like doing research, I like to do research on stuff. And then I saw all these crazy vehicles that were like almost all the same. They were kind of military looking pointed ends, but it was just paying attention to the energy. I didn't feel hostile, but everybody was like traveling in the same direction, which I could be taken or interpreted in so many ways. If you have someone if you're not able to do, kind of look into your dreams and see what they're trying to tell you, you can always there's always somebody that can interpret so well, like so good on these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Recently I had a conversation with a lady. She contacted me. I'm not I wouldn't call myself an expert in dream interpretation, but she asked me if I knew anything about it. And I said, I'll spend some time on the phone with you and we'll sift through it and see if we can figure it out. So, because they were really bothering her, and her go-to person was out of town. And I'm like, sure, let's just have a conversation. And her dreams were like leaving her son somewhere, and he's not really wanting to stay, but he was okay. But she's like, I'd never do that. And she would keep saying to me, because there was like 3 dreams, and she'd tell me these pieces about her son, about leaving him. And then she, in her, waking state, she's like, I would never do that. I would never do that. And then it came down to some difficulty that she's having in a relationship, and her son not 100% on board with this guy. And so, talking through kind of the jealousy between the adult male in the relationship and the son. Like, the adult male wants the girlfriend's attention, but mom, needs to give her son attention. And so we, sifted through like her leaving her son with her, or it was like the conversation was about processing, like pushing her son aside to spend time with in the relationship. And she goes, I would never do that. Like, my son is everything to me. We have a great connection. I'm not going to push. And so it came down to like her dream was helping her in sifting, like, are you going to choose your son or this relationship? And so, yeah, sometimes you just got to process out loud, like talk to somebody as a sounding board so that you can see, because our dreams do tell us or will guide us through any kind of problem or situation issue that we might be experiencing. We're having difficulty making a decision. We are just needing some guidance through a circumstance. And so our dreams will do that for us. And sometimes, well, I know for me, a lot of times I'll have dreams and they just seem like they're out there. Like, I don't know what the what.
Oh, I get that.
But then I'll start sifting through it and what's going on in my life and see if there is a connection. And so sometimes you just need that is to talk out loud to somebody. And, with her, she just had this tunnel vision about the dream. Like, the dreams is this,
Yeah.
I feel like this, I don't know what it means. And so she's in that kind of a fear base because it bothered her so much. But once we start talking about it, and she was talking about her relationship and just providing information about her life. And what's going on in your life? What's this? And just start like an investigator asking questions. And then I was able to correlate that message. Like, I would never, because she even said it when she was talking about the relationship, like, he wants my attention, but I got to give my attention to my son because I'm a mom, and I would never push it. And those exact words came out of her mouth. And I'm like, oh, hold on, time out. And so the connection and so, yeah, and just got to talk it through.
I get it, honestly. And it's not because somebody else knows any better than the person, but like you said, fear puts you in a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
It does. You don't, when you're in that space, like we talked about, I think a week or two ago, when you limit yourself on solutions, like or even figuring out things, you're limited because you're only seeing things one way. So it is seeing things from a bigger picture, really, because like you said, we are getting messages. Our dreams give us messages all the time. Some of them I don't know. Like one, I had a cat. I had a snake that looked like my cat. It was furry and everything else. So it's like, okay, that's the weirdest thing ever. But it's like, I don't know what the meaning was, but it was all good, friendly energy, you know? So, but there's so much stuff that's coming through because we can't, and that's how it happens, right? When we're at rest, we're not thinking things. And that's something that I've been working on too. And I think a lot of people can do is like recognize what's your thoughts and recognize the intuition that's coming in. Because I'll catch myself saying something and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that was me thinking. That was me thinking. So if I'm thinking you know, we're usually, I feel like that I'm operating on, you know, previous injuries, previous scars, previous wounds
Yeah.
when I'm going through that thinking process. So you can't get there. I can't get us the solutions or the amount of solutions that I'd like to get to a situation from there. Because my way of handling things is like, well, if it ain't fucking working, peace out. I'm done. Peace.
Going in a
Enjoy.
different
Have a good
direction.
life. Yeah. Yeah. And and I know that's my, that's my self-preservation. Like, that's still me not being whatever, allowing that closeness or a friendship or whatever, because that's still a little bit of that defensiveness too, but it's easier to recognize when you slow down enough. It's easier to recognize when you start recognizing your own stuff. And then you start asking for help with those, whether it's inside of you or it's outside of you. With inside of you, you get the information and it can come from outside of you, it can come from you or another friend. And you know what's right. When you're telling her this stuff, she has her intuition and we know what resonates.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I've had people like same thing, vocalize my dream to someone else or dreams that I've had and had gotten such an interpretation that was so amazing. It's like I almost started crying because it's like I knew that was 100% correct. So it's like for me, I might get that emotion like that, or I might get the goosebumps, or I might get just like it's like an aha, like no shit, like why didn't I see that? Because I was limiting myself in this place of fear or like trying to focus on what was going on, and it's not bad stuff. Like even that what she was her dream probably didn't feel good because she knows that she would never do that. She would never leave her son like that, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good in that space.
Right. And
And
that's
also recognizing who she's leaving them with, because there might, you know, pay attention to him because he might be letting her know too that you might be leaving him with somebody that, you know, is not a good fit or isn't very nice when you're not around.
right. Yeah. And it was sifting through that she's in a relationship that is better than the previous relationship.
Mhm.
And so now it's a kind of a coming to a crossroads. Do I stay in the relationship or is it time to release it? Knowing, I mean, consciously knowing information about the dynamics of the relationship. But it also, you know, is like the complaint that the boyfriend needs attention and is jealous when she's not giving it to him because she's got to tend to her son. It was okay, well, if there's this dynamic of a pulling, having to choose, what do you get out of the relationship? Because I said, you know, does it feel good? And she said no. I said, boy, you're getting something out of it. You're getting something from this relationship to stay in it. And it was, you know, it was the fact that it's a better relationship than the previous one. So then talking through that, like each relationship that we have, whether it's with a significant other, whether it's 2, 3, 4 marriages, whether it's friends, coworkers, every relationship we have, there's learning to be had. There's learning and growth. If it's a significant other, then each person that you've been with have qualities about them that you liked. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been attracted to them. You're attracted to them, got to know them, and then decided you didn't like them. And so right, next. So, but it wasn't a failure or a failed relationship. It was you're gathering information to figure out what you like and to build on that, build on those characters and values and qualities to eventually get into a relationship that is more blossoming and loving and in that space that you desired. Then, and all those other ones were just stepping stones. You stepped on a stone, you got some information, went to the next stone, got some information, right? Each relationship's a stepping stone to build on the relationship you desire instead of settling, right?
That's what she was doing. Yeah, because that's what, when you were saying about her first relationship and this was better, it's because from first relationship, she learned to ask for more. She learned to identify what would she like more in a relationship. And that's really all this next person is to ask for more. And they probably came together. They probably had some sort of a traumas from childhood that brought them together. Sometimes it's we look too hard for what these traumas are, and sometimes it's just as simple as this boyfriend probably is jealous because he just wants the attention, because he always wanted the attention, he never got the attention. Or
Right.
maybe he was put on a platform that he got all the attention, and he expects that still as something outside of him instead of something that he needs to give himself. Because when we want that attention, it's attention, which we've talked about, it's attention that we need for ourselves, it's attention that we need to give ourselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is such a great, but we put too much, I don't know. I think maybe that's where sometimes we get lost in emotions of what we think that we want, but we're not paying attention because like you asked her, does it feel good? No, it doesn't feel good. There's no way it could feel good, or you wouldn't have these concerns, or you wouldn't have these questions. And that's something else. When you start having these kind of concerns and questions, don't you think that maybe there's something not right in the relationship? I mean, to me, I think that kind of boils down to it. Or is it just because the person's operating from previous, wounds from being a child or whatever it is? And I think that's possible too. It's how do you identify it? You have to ask yourself questions, really. You got to see what resonates with you, because you kind of know a lot of the stuff, and we're constantly receiving information to let us know what we want to know. However, we're asking it. Just like when I said earlier, I was asking for my path to be cleared. Well, that's not really what I wanted. Sure, I like my path cleared so I can get there faster, but it's like, really, I wanted just that peace while I'm driving to enjoy, because otherwise we've talked about as soon as we zone in on someone's energy, I don't have to know the person. If I'm driving behind a person and that person's being an ass, or, however they're driving, I'm connecting to their energy. I don't
Right.
know anything about that person. But you could play with that and start recognizing, okay, I feel a male energy. I feel this, I feel that. Instead of being controlled by it, you can play with it. That's a good message for myself. But because it's true. It's not getting pulled into it. And that's where we get the confusion too. So even the girl with the boyfriend, then she starts feeling all these doubts and all this other stuff because she's no longer paying attention to what her energy is. And I tell my clients all the time, ask yourself, is this mine? Is this my energy? Because almost always I'll recognize all of a sudden that whatever that energy was that I was feeling, it's gone
Yep.
completely.
Yep. As soon as you acknowledge it, I'm like, angels, get this out of my body. I know it's not mine. And it's like a magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And then you can think, then you can process.
Yeah. And I feel like what happens too, because I've witnessed it, is, okay, so I'm just using a relationship as an example, not her relationship.
Okay.
So if you think about a woman who grows up in an abusive family, sees her mom get knocked around and yelled at, and, the emotional, mental, and physical abuse. So then she associates that to love and whatever way that looks like. And so when she gets older and starts getting into relationships, she ends up in abusive relationships with the physical, emotional, and mental abuse. She gets smart enough, desires something different, not smart enough, just desires something different. And she leaves that relationship, but ends up in a next relationship where there's only mental and emotional abuse, no physical. So she's taken a step in the direction that feels better to her, that she can relate to at that time. And then from there, she could be watching other women and watching the dynamics of healthy couples, and, the love between them, and the care, and the helping one another, and the conversations, the open communication, and desire that. And then get out of the emotional and mental abusive relationship and step into the next. Now, the next one might be still a little mentally and emotionally abusive, but not as harsh, right? And so each step is just a stepping toward the direction of what you desire. Same thing with a career. You do the same thing. I watch my son do this. over and over and over again. I'm like, how do you do that? Because I'm of the era you get into a job and you stay there. So I had a job for, anyway, it's just you stay there for life, right? Even if you hate it, you stay there for life. And he's like, I don't like it. So I went and I'm doing this now. And then, you know, a month later, I'm talking to, well, yeah, I didn't like that either. So now I'm doing this. It's like, you can do, like, it totally opened up my brain and think bigger, because I was putting limitations on myself. That once you start this is where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And so when he started, of course, in me, I was just like, you can't do that. You made a commitment. You need to stick to that job, right? But I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this is his life, and that's my story, not his. And he's got to learn and you know, allow him his space to, if it doesn't feel good and he doesn't like it, he's right. Why stay?
Exactly.
So watching him do that, and then with being in business and growing in a business owner as a coach and a teacher, they, you know, when we start out, I thought it was just me, but it's like almost the entire population who goes into business. You just want to help everybody. You want to relate to everybody. You want to help everybody. You want to touch every life on this planet. Well, you know what? There's over 7 billion people on the planet. That ain't going to happen. Probably not in this lifetime. And so they tell you, narrow down your niche. You know how that was so difficult. So difficult. It's like, focus in on one type of person that you want to help. Well, in doing that, now I'm thinking, okay, I got to make a commitment to just these people, and these are the only people I communicate to, right? But in the business world, they're like, no, that's your starting place, because as you grow, things are going to change. It's a constant, it's flexibility and change, flexibility and change. It's just a constant evolving of yourself, where you're at with your business, who you want, what lives you want to touch, and what's next. So there's a lot of people. I'm in women's coaching and mentoring groups. There's a lot of women who started with I want to help everybody. I'm going to touch everybody's life, and narrowed it down, started there, evolved, and now they're coaching those of us who are now starting businesses. So now they have they've gone through all these platforms of evolving with their business, and now they're really successful. So now that they're really successful in their business, now they have the business mindset to teach the rest of us. And so as I evolve, I mean, I don't know, maybe I will be a business coach someday, but in the meantime, I'm growing my business. So I need to go through all that, and I'm going to help the people along the way that I can. And then we'll see where I'm at in 5 or 10 years, right? So, and who knows, I may not even be coaching. I don't know where I'm going to be. So anyway, it's just it's allowing yourself the space to gather information, sift through it, take the next step, gather more information, sift through it, take the next step.
It's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. Even like you're talking about your son, to me, that the lesson wasn't just for him, it was for you. And then, and then when you share this, it's for me too, because that's the way I was taught too. Like I said last week, my mom was crying to go to a job that she didn't want to go to, but she knew she had to. I know so many people. Yeah, I know so many people that are going to jobs because they know that the retirement's close. It's like, so you're going to go ahead and put your life on hold that you don't even know how long you're going to be here, just so you can get a retirement that you don't know if you're even going to be able to have. Like to me, that's a lot of stuff. And I agree with him. And it's just same with relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a job or if it's a relationship. If it doesn't feel good, don't stay there. Honestly, I mean, that's where just kind of where I'm at. And if it doesn't feel good, you gotta move on.
Also though, is what we do is we focus a lot on what we don't have.
Yeah.
And in fact, the relationship, there's a lot of gratitude to be had. I'm grateful that
Definitely.
this guy only, is mentally and emotionally abusive and not physically, I'm not physically in pain every day or have bruises all over my body. So I am grateful for that.
Yeah. So not taking
And,
it with to the next relationship.
and I can desire more or
Yes.
better or
And
different.
we don't, yeah, and we don't have to, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that we change from one relationship to a milder relationship, but still the abusive. It doesn't have to be that way, because it's like you said, it's finding the ways to appreciate the stuff that's in that relationship, and then taking whatever, you get whatever you need. And if it doesn't change, it's also on, if you're really in love with a person and you guys are both in love with each other and there is such a great connection, also recognizing when they're working through their trauma too, because he's working through his own stuff, or not. If they choose, I mean, that's the thing. If someone chooses not to evolve or chooses not to, um, I guess if it's constantly always putting the blame on you, and they're never taking accountability for what their choices and actions are, then you have to take that into consideration. But there is a lot to go with appreciating everything that you're gaining at that time, and still walking away with grace and ease if it comes to a walk away point. And then you're not walking into another relationship that's milder than what you were in. You're walking into a relationship knowing what you want out of that relationship.
And and it is important that along the journey, you include the fact that you are worthy and deserving of better, because we can, because I've done it too. We can connect with somebody. So if she's in an abusive relationship, I'm just going to say Susie. Susie's in an abusive relationship, but desires a relationship with somebody who is loving and caring and gentle and, supportive, like all these wonderful qualities about them. She leaves the abusive relationship, gets into a relationship like that with somebody. It's so foreign, and her worthiness and deserving of something like that isn't scaled up within herself. She will push that person away. She will find a way to sabotage that relationship and end up back into an abusive relationship. Maybe not as intense, but it's just because it's a similar situation with people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and they win $7 million. They end up more broke, like more in debt from winning $7 million, because they haven't shifted their mindset about finances or money. And so they get $7 million, well, whatever that is after taxes. And they don't know how to gracefully handle that amount of money, because their mindset isn't that big. Their mindset isn't that, I'm going to use the word condition, because we do have to condition our mind to be able to handle something bigger and better. We got to shift our thinking, our limited beliefs, our limitations, those ingrained beliefs that money is hard to get. You have to work hard for money. Well, I went and bought a piece of paper that had the winning numbers on it, and I received. That was easy. I spent $2, $5, whatever. That was easy. Well, I didn't work hard for it. So that energetic belief that I have to work hard, I'm going to find a way to get rid of all of it. So our belief systems will really sabotage us if we don't take the time to clear those up.
It's true. That's all I can say to that. It is true. And it's like I've recognized it even in my own life. So it's easy to recognize when you're paying attention to that stuff. What I would say, what I was thinking of when you were talking is, we lose sight. So we focus on these relationships, right? Doesn't matter if it's a job or anything else, but it's got our focus. Again, we're not focusing on ourselves and we're not trusting our own intuition. Because if we were listening to our intuition and trusting our intuition, we would recognize things right away, and it wouldn't be something that you would even include into your experience. If you're trusting your intuition, your vibration is going to be higher, which also means that the people that come into your experience aren't going to be these low vibrational energies, not because they're a bad energy, it's just because you don't match up with it. You're going to match up with whatever you're putting out or how you're feeling. So that goes back to the gratitude and appreciation. So it's there. The bigger picture is really, it's really taking our energy back to ourselves. Even when you were talking before about going through the business classes and stuff, what hit me was, if I put the energy into myself that I put into other people, or if I put the energy into myself that I worried about other people, I would have so much. It would be a different place than I'm at right now. But I'm in a different place than I was yesterday. I mean, every single day we're evolving and shifting. That I was having that conversation. It's like, yeah, I've been going through a shift, and I was like, I've been going through a shift freaking every freaking day. It's like, what am I talking about? Like, it's
Been going on
constantly,
for a while.
yeah, it's like a constant change. It is a constant change. Even you were talking about, I was listening to you, you were talking about, oh my gosh, what's the gal that does a lot of the cards and stuff? Because we've got a lot of her cards. You were just talking about her, Doreen Virtue, and how she's changed since then. And it's like, but there was and it's all right for her to change because we all have our views, and she just got pulled into a different direction.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't take away from who she is. It just means this is where she's at on her path. Because
Right.
we don't know all the details, right? We don't know what she's working through, or what she's seen, or we just don't know, because we're all here on different journeys. And she's now, if you think about it, on a different level, she's actually now pulling people to her that are in that level to help them evolve. Because what'll happen, I'm seeing this now, is what'll happen is she brings those people that are in that same mindset to her, and then they start trying to find out more information about her, and then they find all the other stuff too, which to me was very opening and very, very positive. There was nothing wrong with her cards. There was nothing wrong with any of the stuff that she had done before. It was always like with the angels. To me, that was always, it's always been positive. It's always been uplifting. So to me, it just grabbed a hold of another group. So she's guided into this place to grab these other people that can be really with the blinders on, because there's a lot of fear and stuff that have been involved in some of these. I'm not saying it's like a religious thing, but I think we have a lot of energy within ourselves from our parallels, or you want to call it past and present experiences from our other beings or stuff like that. But we're experiencing all that at one time, and we might have those fears. And she's attracting such a group of people with that are within that place that can evolve now, like a huge group. So it's interesting now that it's just interesting how that showed up for me, because I didn't process it before like that, but I just can see a little bit bigger of a picture.
And it
And
could
then
be
she's
too,
willing to step into that and trust that intuition.
yeah, and it could be too that I don't know, I don't remember her history. I think she had some kind of thing with religion that's early in her life. I think I'm again, if I'm wrong, it's okay. But this was maybe her way of her journey and connecting with angels and connecting with her intuition and feeling into what feels good to her and how it's presented and how it's delivered and how it's received and how she affected so many people's lives in a really good way through her messages on her cards, and then being pulled into this new direction that she will bring a different perspective or viewpoint in what she's doing now, which would be softer than the way religion has been preached.
Yes.
Right, in a controlling way. So it's her process, it's her journey, and this is what's working for her and what feels good to her. Bev and I come here each week because this is what feels good to us, to have these conversations. I coach women who are ready to move through their emotional, to let go of their emotional baggage from their traumas from the past, and want to be more empowered and love themselves and be self-nurturing and more kind and compassionate. Bev does massage, and that's the way she reaches people. And through all of this, we are growing and moving and changing and evolving. And the more we do that, the more of it we bring to you as an audience. And it's continuous. It's not going to stop. It's continuous.
No, it's just going to constantly evolve, and it's going to continue. I mean, it really, because it's always changing. That's the thing. There's no, people talk about being afraid of change, and it's like, man, you've been changing your whole freaking life as much as you would let it. And it's like, you want happiness and you want all these things, but you don't let it. You don't just be to allow that flow or to be in that flow.
And when the best example of change is, you started out as an infant, you became an adolescent, you became a young adult. Now we're here at this age. You have changed tremendously. Nothing is constant. Right? And so that when somebody presented it to me that way, I was like, oh, yeah, you're right.
And then also presented to me that it's like, that was when we were learning how to be babies and crawl and roll, we were learning how to be human. It wasn't, I mean, that's really what we were here. We came into these bodies and we're having to learn how to be human, having to learn how to be in a gravity or, just in everybody's energy, like all the time. So it's been a fascinating journey. And that's why I still even use that, Beyond Past Lives by Mira Kelly book. I still go, I constantly go back to being in uterus of my mom. So I constantly go back to that feeling of being into that space, like feeling that weightlessness, feeling that it didn't matter how you were laying or sleeping or moving or any of that stuff, because you were in such a safe place. But we really are. We're still in a safe place, because really, we're energy. You can't destroy energy. So it's like we're always going to be. So it's always a safe place as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, I wouldn't have thought that way before when I was younger, but I do now. And it's just knowing, like I feel very empowered by being able to go back to that space and then feel the love of my family, but also remembering. And that's what I've been doing a lot lately. So a lot of times when I go to sleep at night, I'm just going into that space of being in uterus, just as because she walks you through a thing, but I'm just doing it. Sometimes I don't even make it beyond the uterus that much. And then I'm off into this meditation space, because it's like you can sit there and focus on being able to hear the heartbeat, feeling the warmth, feeling just surrounded by love and light. And I just feel like that's where we came from. We all came from this love and light. And so for me, it's helping me to remember me, who I am. And it's helping me to remember that I need my attention. It's helping me to remember that I've got my intuition. We get talked out of our intuition a lot too. And with, like, so my intuition might guide me that this is the end of the road for something. And it's like, then you hear someone else like argue for their right, or, I need to be seen, or this needs to be done, or whatever it is. And then we take that into consideration, and then we're no longer trusting our intuition. We've kind of pushed it against, brushed it aside, and like started listening to something outside of ourselves, which is a lot of what's happening, which is a lot of what could be happening in society right now. It doesn't mean that we're all doing it, because I feel like, geez, I'm on TikTok last night, and you talk about, I'm seeing so much stuff about people talking about stuff that we talk about in our home here all the time. You and I talk about all the time, that it's being just spoke about, it's being preached about everywhere. It's like, so that's why I keep saying we are going through such a huge shift. It blows my mind. Like, it's constantly blowing my mind. I can be like stuck in a place and listening to the news, or even social media, which I'm hardly even on. I'll go on the TikTok, but I can like, I don't have to hear that crap.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm just not on it, because it doesn't feel good. And that's just like any relationship. If it doesn't feel good, then, change your focus, change your intention. And there was just so much stuff last night. I was even just like flicking through, and I'm like, holy crap, that's the part that blows my mind, because we know all this stuff already. And it's like, people are talking about that. I was seeing something, I don't know if it might have been on TikTok, that in Europe and other places, they're going to be like, the environment that's going to be being utilized, is going to be more clinics, more places that are just like us, helping people on their path that they're on right now. It's helping them to evolve. So it's such a, it gives me goosebumps. So I know that it's true. I know it's happening. It's already happening, because what's happening, just like in a relationship, we talked about this person in their first relationship, we start seeing the things that we don't want in that relationship. And what do we want from that relationship? And that's what we're all creating, because we want more. This 3D, 4D that we've been in for such a long time, it's not good enough for us anymore. We've gotten bored of it. So
Yeah.
we want to evolve, and that's helped us to kind of push us in that direction. So it's like, thank you. That's the gratitude of that relationship, right? It's thank you for showing me, I guess, what I didn't know that I wanted, because that's mostly what happens. We go out and we pick we go out with this first relationship. It's great because they looked good, and they thought Louis looked good, and it's like after a while you realize I want more from this. But it's like all of that ever did was help us to create a better experience. It gave us more of a desire of things that we want instead of things we don't want. And then if we appreciate that journey that we're on, like, thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you for letting me see what I do want in my life and what I know that I do not need in my life. And it changes my focus, because there is such amazing things happening right now. If we had access to all that information, that's like the news channel. And you want to create a news channel, start bringing focus to a lot of the stuff like, hey, 7 more facilities just opened up, and all they're doing is spiritual guidance, meditation, any type of energy healing you can think of, whatever it is that you think that's beneficial to the greater good of the whole. Man, that's the stuff to be shown out there all the time.
Yep. And there's usually, when people are focused on social media and the news and all the I'm going to say negative stuff, but the stuff that we don't really care for, the changes that are happening that trigger people. There are many other people that are not in front of the camera who are starting these types of facilities to help people have less stress, maybe a meditation every day, some place to go to be in community. The clinics to help people transition from their heavy emotions to being lighter in their emotions. So there's a lot of stuff happening, like light workers. I consider us light workers.
Mhm.
Like Bev and I started this in 2020 when the pandemic was going on. And the light workers, we don't need to be in front of the camera. So like in the front of the news, the main, social media feed. We're light workers. We just slide in and we just do our thing and work our magic in the best way we can in that moment. And when you are in alignment for change, for evolution, for flexibility, for self-love, you will connect with the light worker. And then it's the same thing with, it's a relationship. So they might get you started, and then you decide, they were great in getting me started, but I'm really not resonating with their teachings completely, or their something about them just isn't real big connection. When you start asking, right? When I point up, meaning our spiritual team, bring me a new, fresh teacher or light worker that I can connect with. Another one will step in. You'll get connected, whether it is through social media or a friend of a friend of a friend or a book, or another light worker will come into your life, and then you build on that relationship with that light worker, teacher, coach. And then if you evolve beyond them, or you continue to grow with them, either way, there are hundreds of thousands of light workers on this planet, and we're all doing our thing.
Which is awesome. And it's like, I also think people are looking, in a lot of the situations that are going on now, people are looking for a war for things to happen, and then if you want to fight, you get a fight, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, for me, it's like looking to even people of the past, like Martin Luther King, or, how they can guide such a group of people. And that's really, to me, that's really what's coming forth right now. And I'm noticing it, if you, gosh, you have to catch it kind of in different places, because it's being so controlled from what we're seeing here in a lot of ways, or they're trying to control what we're seeing here, but we still have access. There's many ways to have access to what's going on in the world. But you start seeing that there's people that are standing up. They're not fighting, but they're just standing up, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is my body. This is
Right.
me. So it's like, to me, that's an awesome thing. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more Martin Luther Kings coming forward. I really feel like a lot more people that are more connected and can see a bigger picture. And it doesn't have to be about us popping a cap in someone's ass.
Right. Right. And one of the things that I didn't know this, 'cause I don't watch the news or a lot of the social media BS. The people I stayed with, they live in San Jose, and we, of course, we were having conversation about the vaccine mandate, where some, like restaurants, public transportation, bars, they will require to see your card, vaccine card. And that we went to San Francisco on Saturday, and apparently, again, I didn't know this, and we didn't have this conversation till later when we got home to their house, is that according to the news, San Francisco is in an uproar. Like it's just because of the vaccine, and whether you're vaccinated or not, like it's a huge deal, and all this, like it was supposed to be some mass craziness, really.
Yeah.
And we went down to Pier 39 is a big place to be, and then there's the Ghirardelli Square, and we did all of that, and we did not run into one rude person. The restaurants, they got their outdoor dining, so you can still go. You just wear your mask through the restaurant, and you go sit outside. I mean, it was just like, it was a great experience. We had a great time. And then they brought up the conversation later that night. So and he said, because he was processing it for him. I mean, he lives there in California. He was processing it for himself compared to what he's seen on the news and what he actually experienced that day. And so he was kind of talking out loud, sharing with us his perception of what he's been told compared to what he experienced. Completely different spectrums, completely different. I mean, it was absolutely great day.
Yeah.
Could be because I set my intentions.
Yeah. Well, but I feel like that a lot of things are trying to be more of a control than they are trying, because fear controls. If they can have you in a fear place, then you're controllable, you're malleable to them. And if you're not in a fear place, then they don't have control over you. And I only say that, it sounds so conspiracy, but it's been going on forever. They've found so many different ways, even as far as changing hertz sounds of what our basic chord would be, for tones and stuff like that. And it's like, and it was taking us away from what actually is a resonance with the earth. I mean, you could look at them putting fluoride in our water. Fluoride or calcifies the pineal gland. It's like all these things that have been going on that we've found to be acceptable, and they're all losing control of that because we're still rising above these things. And it's not because it's like, look what I can do. It's because, oh my God, this feels so much better. This is empowering. It doesn't feel restrictive. It doesn't feel like you're being confined. You don't feel trapped. And it's like, it's totally evolving. So like I always tell people, you set your intentions, but see your world the way you want to see it. If you don't like the stuff that's happening in our government, then see, what would your government look like? Or would you not have a government? I mean, honestly. So it's like, there's just ways to be looking at it. And it's just, if you don't like it, then we're the people. then we go in and we see what do we like, finding those groups like we've talked about before, getting into groups. Because when you're in those groups and you guys have a similar idea of what you would like, that you're creating and it feels good, then that's the kind of groups you want to create with. That's the kind of life you want to create. And we're so powerful. I say that all the time. I think I'm trying to convince myself that we're powerful because I recognize in a lot of ways that we are, but I know that I don't recognize how powerful we really are, like how much we really can create. And it's not in a powerful in a destructive way. It's powerful in a what can I create for the greater good of all kind of way, like what feels good. And to me, and if you're creating from a greater good, it's never about what I can do, that I'm creating this and it's going to be just good for myself. It just feels good for everybody.
Right.
And people still can be themselves. They can still have their own beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We can all evolve together.
Drop the mic. We can all evolve together.
Yes, we can.
I love it. And it is 11:11.
Nice.
Good timing for them words, Miss Bev.
Nice.
That was beautiful.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna end it on that. Like, I'm not even gonna follow that up.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for your time, energy, your space to be with you for tea time with Amie and Bev. That we know you could have been doing anything else, but you chose to be here with us, whether you were live or watching the replay. So from our hearts, we absolutely appreciate that and are so thankful of your support, your energetic support in that way. If you want to connect with us, you can email through at amieandbev@gmail.com. Our podcast is broadcast on different platforms. They are, and I have to look over this way because that's my list. We are on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and YouTube and Facebook. So there are many platforms to connect and share with your friends and family that would benefit from the messages that we bring each week. Something that helps us is if you go onto any of these platforms is to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So that is an energetic way of support, and we do this for free. So win-win.
That's right. And thank you, Amie, for doing all that stuff, because that's all stuff you do. That's all stuff that you've been kind of pulled towards, and I appreciate it because it's like I have zero desires for that kind of stuff. So thank you for all you do. I appreciate you. I really do. And I really appreciate everyone that shows up and listens, and we always appreciate your feedback too. So because we're not the end all be all. We're learning just like everybody else. So everybody's got value. Share it.
We're the light worker you're connecting with right now. And whether you continue this journey with us or you move on and you connect with another light worker or workers, so be it. Just stay on your journey, stay on your path. And to me, the goal is to be and do better. Be and do better.
Awesome.
All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.